Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show where we like to gather around and talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and we have some great updates and a rumor to talk about today, so make sure you guys stick around for the whole video, and we'll just jump straight into it. Starting off, we have a trade rumor. After a busy offseason that saw this team aggressively improve its pass rushing by signing star edge rusher Brian Burns and then drafting Penn State edge rusher Abdul Carter with the number 3 overall pick, we saw the Giants really take a step up in their defensive game this offseason. So, what does that mean for Kayvon Thibodeau? He's approaching his final year of his rookie contract, and his role on the defense is increasingly unclear to coaches, analysts, and all of that kind of stuff. League insiders are beginning to speculate that the Giants could explore trade options with him. A good landing spot? The Detroit Lions. His rookie contract was fully guaranteed 4-year, a deal worth $31.3 million with a 5th-year option built in, standard for first-round picks. And the Giants have exercised that option, keeping him under team control through the 2026 season. However, that 5th year comes at a cost of $14.6 million in 2026. So while he's shown flashes of potential during the 2023 season, where he had 11.5 sacks, Thibodeau hasn't developed into a dominant every down force the Giants were really hoping for. Why they picked Abdul Carter, right? And then signed Brian Burns. With limited cap space and other major contract extensions looming, it's not clear if Thibodeau remains part of the team's long-term plans. Makes sense. So where does this come in for us? Well, pairing him with Hutchinson would give Detroit one of the most athletic and dynamic young pass rushing duos in the league. Both former top 5 picks, both have still plenty of room to grow because of their age. And under the mentorship of Dan Campbell, I feel like Thibodeau could really reach his ceiling, especially in a system that rewards a relentless motor and downhill attacking with the kind of hype that Dan Campbell brings. So what would a trade look like if it was to happen, right? A comparable second-round pick in 2026 is probably going to be likely to sway the Giants, and then a second, or if we could get a third-round pick as well, I'd try to lean to try to get them to take the third-round pick, but it's probably going to end up being something more like another second-round pick the year after would probably be what the Giants are looking for. This would free up space for the Giants while also giving them value going into the next few seasons. It's a pretty attractive deal, if you ask me. We'd be giving up probably 2 second-round picks or a second round and a third round, so not fantastic, but with the way our injuries have been going on defensive end, and we're not clear if we're still, grabbing Zadarius Smith again for another season, this wouldn't be a terrible trade. We would owe $17 million over 2 years for that option. A possible early extension would look like maybe 18 mil to 22 mil over the 3 or 4 years. Similar deals have been signed by pass rushers like Montez Sweat and Brian Burns, which we mentioned. So, while we still have that 48 mil cap space, even though next year it's expected to get less because of new contracts going into place, things of that nature, I don't think it's a terrible idea, and we don't need to extend his contract necessarily. We could just pick him up for the season, see where he goes, right? Yeah, it's unclear if he'd be looking for a contract extension with the Lions this early, but I think it's definitely something worth noting, right? With Marcus Davenport not necessarily being the reliable option we've had in the last few seasons. While I'm hoping Marcus Davenport comes in and he's ready to go and he just hits the ground running, I don't want to risk another season where we got no defensive ends because of all the injuries and things of that nature. I would really think that a trade like this could be very beneficial for the team, even if it was just a depth piece if Davenport decides to play. But like I said, he's got all this room to improve. He's got a high ceiling. He's got the natural talent, and he's got the stats to back him up. 11.5 sacks. So he's done it before. We just now need to see him be consistent. And I think with a team like this, who's in a very good position, could definitely get it done, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is definitely a possible trade, and it could be a really attractive trade for both sides involved. So moving on, we're going to get into our second topic on the dual set between Montgomery and Montgomery Gibbs. So John Morton announced this week that Gibbs and Montgomery will be playing in a dual halfback set frequently this year on offense. This was done before with Ben Johnson a little bit, but I think the way that John Morton's running his offense the more passing game forward, using our backs because we've always been kind of a run first offense. I think this is going to be very interesting. This will give Gibbs more of an opportunity to fit into a hybrid receiver role under Morton's offensive scheme. Gibbs even said Sunday that he's in a great spot heading into his third NFL season, and he's really settled into his role as a dual threat weapon on the offense. He has 104 combined receptions over his last 2 seasons, and I think it's only going to continue to grow, especially with our new offensive coordinator. Detroit topped 2,000 rushing yards and 25 rushing touchdowns last season, notching 15 games with at least 100 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Detroit was the first team in the NFL history last season to have 2 running backs, Gibbs and Montgomery, and 2 receivers, St. Brown and Jamison Williams, to record at least 1,000 scrimmaging yards in a single season. So the passing game has been great, and in the run game has been great. But now we have this kind of set that's going to, do good for both sides of that ball. In a dual set, this gives Montgomery more freedom to work on receptions, which he has stated he can do, and he's still a part of this offense. And with him being a proven blocking back, we can get more going off of play action because with him, it'll help pick up blitzes, gives the quarterback more time. I think that's also something to note here. Montgomery is a very gritty guy, and he will make those big-time blocks to give Goff the time he needs to make that throw, because when Goff has the time to make the throw, more often than not, he's making it. Since we have a power back and a receiving back in this set, we can keep defenses guessing. I think that's one of the big pros here. If both backs can run routes or pass block, like we've talked about, defenses won't know if it's a run, a screen, play action, or a deep shot, right? Linebackers and safeties are often forced into bad coverage matchups if we throw Jahmyr Gibbs on a streak or a Texas route, forcing those linebackers on man coverage to kind of, guard Gibbs in space. That's not going to be great for them a bunch of times because we know this kind of speed that Gibbs has. We know that he's getting better and he's been improving on his route running. And then I think, especially if you got Montgomery just running like a little wheel route, a little out route, it gives him opportunities to truck guys like we saw in the Seattle game. And then if you have Gibbs kind of going downfield, you're forcing him to a bad coverage or a bad matchup with a linebacker, which that's a great thing for me, if you ask me. With receivers like St. Brown, who are already established as a threat too, I think it'll give Gibbs more chances to get open. This can go the other way as well, though. If Gibbs kind of has this progression through the season of getting more and more receptions, being this dangerous receiving back as well as a speedster when he's running, I feel like then that gives St. Brown, that gives JMO some more space to grab catches. Maybe they're not double teaming St. Brown as much. Maybe they're not worrying about Gibbs a lot more. I think this goes both ways here, and I think it could be really exciting to see how this develops because I think the two backs together are, they're one hit, two hit, the 1-2 punch kind of duo and that Dan Campbell has mentioned. And I think now that we're going to get them in more consistent dual back formation and the dual back set, John Morton's going to get to play around a lot more with play action, with using Gibbs as that receiver who's already become more of a receiver, more of that hybrid receiver back, fit that's really popular in the NFL these days. And Montgomery's going to get more chances to get receptions or even just use him as pass blocking. And, if we send Gibbs in a motion, all of a sudden eyes are on Gibbs. Montgomery takes the ball. We have a great offensive line for run blocking, and Montgomery can just get chunk yardage. I think, honestly, this is going to be really exciting to watch, and I'm excited to see more of it this season under John Morton. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think about this and what are the possible applications for having these two different kinds of backs who do their jobs super well in a set like this. Moving on to our third topic, we are talking about the day 3 of training camp and kind of what was the most prominent stuff going on. So Giovanni Manu is getting more reps in, we've heard, even keeping Hutch at bay a couple of times. Then again, he's also getting beaten. Coach Campbell described it as a kind of a 2-step forward, 1-step back thing. After working with him through much of the offseason, though, Taylor Decker has noted how much more confident he's getting and using that physical gift he has. He's noted how much of a physical gift it really is and how talented he is. He just has to have more confidence and work more on his finesse, right? I think that's big for us. I think if that kind of guy gets better and better at tackle, we won't have to worry just as much about Taylor Decker getting older. Maybe we have this backup now who's more reliable. But for now, it's not really going to be a reliable choice. We just got to see where he goes, and I'm glad to see that he is getting better. Brock Wright getting more receptions in. I like that. Those reps are going to be very important this year. Seemingly to fit the new scheme of the passing offense, Wright is a talented and agile blocking tight end, as we know, who is known for getting those sneaky third down catches in those situations where you're not expecting him to get the ball, but then it goes to him and he'll even get some yards after the run or yards after the catch, right? Brock Wright has made really has apparently made a very difficult third down catch up the left seam with linebacker Jack Campbell in tight coverage per Tim 20 man. So that was really cool to hear and really cool to know that Brock Wright is getting more reception reps in, because we talk about it over and over again, but with this new offense, we are going to see more passing from them. Tuesday was a very heavy third down day for the Lions. They were doing a lot of red zone stuff, third down stuff. So I'm assuming that the passing game is going to be on point this year for those situations. We know that we like to go for fourth down, right? But if we can keep it from getting to fourth down, I think that would be much better too, right? Special teams were also moving on all cylinders, showing energy, and a lot of guys are fighting for that roster spot. That just tells me that special teams is going to be electric this year. We've always kind of had a fun special teams, fake punts, stuff of that nature. And seeing that guys are really, really, really wanting to get to that next level is just showing me the kind of energy and grit that's on this team still. Terrion Arnold has been continued to get more practice at locating the ball during his reps, stating that his first interception is happening this season. I'm super excited. We've talked about how his second year is going to be a lot more exciting because he's finally got that experience starting, and now he's more comfortable in the role. Looking forward to that first reception or interception this year, my friend. And then notably, rookie Ahmed Hassanin, who we've talked about on this channel, the assassin, has been going and going during practices. Quote from Dan Campbell, a motor that never quits, and has been making his mark with the second team defense during camp. Apparently, he's just a force right now. And like I said, he's probably going to be a backup or just a depth piece guy for now. But in the next few years, I think we can expect to see a really, really determined player and possibly a starter for this team who's going to shake things up at defensive end. I'd really love to see it. I know some of you guys disagreed, but I think a guy like him who's just got all this determination, something to prove, chip on his shoulder mentality, and now they're saying during practice he's just a monster. I'm excited to see what the assassin's going to do. So with that being said, let's move to our fourth and final topic of the day. We're looking at some return timelines for players. We have been keeping in touch with, injuries, updating injuries, stuff like that in the last few videos, but now we have some return timelines for players. So DJ Reed, I was like, where the heck is DJ Reed during practice? What happened? He had a great practice and he disappeared. He confirmed that he missed Monday's practice due to the birth of his third child. So nothing major, nothing bad. Congratulations, DJ Reed. That is awesome for you, brother. Moving down, Ennis Rakestraw, just 2 days after suffering a chest injury in the opening practice, he was back out working with a trainer, so he's back on the field. He is still moving, good things of that nature. It's really good to hear from a guy like him who we need at that depth piece. Miles Frazier had a knee injury, and Dan Campbell said a knee, probably, I don't know. Let's call it September, October. Let's say something like that. So September, October, keep an eye out for Miles Frazier. Malcolm Rodrigo, we've already talked about, just doing good, doing really good, but I think he's another October guy per Dan Campbell. Khalil Dorsey, I would say Dorsey's probably the closest of that group. We're hoping late camp we could get Dorsey back. He's doing well, he's running, his speed's there. Now it's just about being able to get your foot in the ground, making a transitional play. Per Dan Campbell again. So Dorsey's probably going to be this guy first back from these injuries. Alex Anzalone has stated he has no timeline for his hamstring injury as of now. And then finally, I want to talk about Aleem McNeil. Apparently maybe sooner than later. Brad Holmes said still having Aleem on his way back, which I think that, has the potential to be a little bit earlier than expected because he's doing great right now, said Brad Holmes. McNeil was quickly becoming one of the best defensive tackles in football over the past couple of years. In 2023, he produced PFF's sixth highest grade at 88.5 amongst the defensive tackles, tallied 5 sacks, 34 pressures. Last year, he took the pass rush grade to a new level, earning 45 pressures and a 77.1 PFF pass rush grade, which was 13th. I'm really excited. I hope he gets back sooner than later because Aleem, the dream, has just been electric for us. And we all know as Lions fans, we need that defensive line keep going. Injuries, oh boy. Let's just hope that these guys get back safe and ready to go for the season earlier than later. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching Lions Latest. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it to this point in the video, what do you think is the best part about training camp? Is it Brock Wright getting more catches? Is it Terrion Arnold locating the ball more? Are you guys excited for the dual set in the back? What do you think the implications are that is that going to have for our offense moving forward? So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one, and you have a great rest of your day.